Hello and welcome to The Point of Everything. Welcome back, Ciara Byrne. How are you doing?
I am doing good. Owen, as you mentioned, we were just having a little preamble chat. I am in a new location again. I like to change location, spice it up.
Yeah, if anybody are watching on YouTube, yeah, you can watch all of the episodes if you want on YouTube. Ciara is keeping me on the edge of my seat by deciding where her background is going to be. I look forward
Anyway,
to maybe a gig venue next time, Ciara.
that is not a bad idea. I might just take you up on that.
How has your weekend been? I do believe that you were halfway across the country, were you?
I was. I made it to Donegal on Friday evening. I was visiting some family up there. There was a festival on they're from close to Melton, and there was a festival on, and I know Daniel O'Donnell was playing, but I missed him, unfortunately. I did do a little celeb watch drive through, but I didn't get to see him. It was very sunny, 29 degrees in Donegal. It felt like being in Spain. But it was lovely. How was your weekend?
Yeah, I spent most of my Saturday on a beach or outside making the most of the heat. I'm glad I wasn't in a car all the way up to Donegal. I hope your air conditioning was working okay, was it?
No, no, I think my gas is broken. So
No.
that was, yeah, no, it was windows down the whole way. Not ideal, not ideal, but we made it work.
You didn't melt anyway. Well, maybe you did melt. And
Kind of, yeah, we did. Yeah, yeah, a lot of cold water to be drank.
what was your soundtrack for the car ride? I believe it's one of the albums that we're going to be talking about on today's show, is it?
It is indeed. So I very luckily got a physical copy of the Poor Creature album, which if you're watching, you'll see me hold it up to the camera. All Smiles Tonight is an absolutely stunning album. So this is the debut from Ruth Clinton from Landless and Cormac McDermott of Lancome. They formed a musical alliance in 2022, and this album was produced by John Spud Murphy, who has production credits and playing credits in a cacophony of, is that the right word? Cacophony of a litany of albums across Ireland. So it was released on Friday, July 11th via Riverlea Records. And they have a roster of names across Ireland that include John Francis Flynn, Ye Vagabonds, and Lisa O'Neill, who's one of my favourites. And they take songs that have existed for centuries and they give a kind of put a new generational spin on things. Um, there is a video for The Whole Town Knows, which is directed by Ruth Ann Cormack. And they say that the video was filmed over a number of years, near to and far from our home in the northwest of Ireland, starring ourselves and many friends, both boxy and round, with special thanks to the Pigeons of Sligo. I just think that's brilliant. And I think it kind of encapsulates the vibe of the album.
How did it sound in the car ride up to Donegal on a hot day, blaring out of the speakers? Because you're a big fan of CDs, aren't you?
I am, yeah. I have a whole collection of CDs. And I think music sounds better on a car stereo. I think like it's more of an immersive experience when you're somewhere for an hour or 2 hours and you can put something on and you have to listen start to finish. I think it would have suited the drive down to Dingle at Other Voices. And so I think it's going to be my soundtrack for that because it is a bit more haunting and full bodied and not exactly the like pop music that you want playing out of your car on a sunny Friday afternoon. But I will be keeping it around for December time on the drive to Dingle.
It's the second summer in a row that Ruth Clinton has released an album at the height of summer. Last year, Landless, of which she is one quarter, released their second album. It's called Lyric. So I talked to her last summer and I talked to the other members of Landless as well for that one. So I'm delighted to maybe make this an annual thing, talking with Ruth, because I've got an interview coming up on the podcast next week with all of Poor Creature, talking through All Smiles Tonight. As you say, what an amazing album. I mean, there's moments of real beauty here, isn't there? Like, I mean, one of the star turns on the last Lancome album was when Cormac took lead vocals on Lord of Boar I think it's the seventh or eighth track on that last Lankum album, False Lankum. And here he takes lead vocals on Laureen, and oh my God, it just melts me. Nothing to do with the heat, Ciara. It's just so beautiful, isn't it? Do you know the track that I'm
It
talking
is.
about?
I do, yeah. I gave the full album like one listen through, and I kind of, when you're listening to it and they're kind of flowing into each other, so I didn't stop and look at the track names, but um yeah, no, it's just a thing of beauty.
But also Ruth's voice is something
Yeah,
else
it's
as well. And
incredible.
it sounds different on this album than it does with Landless as well, I think. There's shades of Sinead O'Connor in it. I didn't ask her about her influences and stuff. I'm not sure how high up Sinead O'Connor might be, but I think she might mention Enya as well. But she is, as I have said to her and as I have said to other people who know her, she has such an encyclopedic brain and mind to do with Irish music. Literally, I think she is researching Irish music and trad and folk down through the centuries, and she really puts that all to use on this album. I just think it's an absolutely magnificent album. I think it's one that we're going to be talking about at the end of the year, isn't it, Ciara? Because this just really stands out so much, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a lasting one. Again, I have a bit of short-term memory when it comes to albums released through the year, but I think this is definitely a standout.
The Whole Town Knows is more of a country song, an American country song, which Ruth and Cormac say that they're quite taken with. It's a cover of a track by Ray Lynham and Philomena Begley. And it just shows that they're not really putting themselves in a corner with what they want Poor Creature to be. Because I don't really remember when I first heard about Poor Creature, I think that they got a couple of support slots. But then suddenly it was like, oh, they've got an album coming out. I haven't had a chance to see them live yet. I think they played before the summer started, and I just wasn't able to go. I think it might have been a Bellow Bar or something like that. And but they're playing Button Factory on November 27th. They're also supporting Lisa O'Neill in London as well. An interesting maybe fact, I don't know, I find it interesting, is that John Dermody, who plays drums on Poor Creature and is brothers with Cormac McDermott. It's one of those questions that I didn't quite want to ask during the interview. They answered it for me. Are they actually brothers? Because one spells it with an Irish spelling, McDermott, and one goes with the English spelling, Dermody. So thankfully, they helped me out on that interview that's coming up next week. But John actually plays drums with Lisa O'Neill, so he might be on double duty in London. So yeah, that's Poor Creature. Anything else you want to say about All Smiles tonight, Ciara?
I just think it's a beautiful album.
It's woozy as well. It's just like
Yeah, it is. It is.
it's kind of haunting too, like the title track goes on for almost 6 minutes and it's very repetitive. And there are a couple of times where I'm like, have I got this song on repeat? But it kind of pulls you in and it kind of discombobulates you. Maybe it's the artwork as well, because the artwork, you've got the CD there
Yeah.
next to you, Ciara, isn't it? It's just kind of
It's
odd.
like a horse and a rose with an arm, but it looks like it's at the bottom of the sea with a blanket and it's upside down. There's a lot going on. Or like,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I think like it feels like it puts you in a trance a little bit when you're listening to it. You kind of just zone out and well, not while driving, but you kind of zone into it.
You
And
zone
it just
into it.
feels like you're, yeah, yeah, onto the road and into the music.
I think that, I mean, we talked about our favorite albums of the first half of the year a couple of weeks ago, Ciara, and we're talking all albums today. And I think maybe all three of the albums that we mentioned, we might be mentioning come December as well.
Hmm.
But Poor Creature, I think, is pretty much nailed on as the trad folk, that kind of sound album of the year. I really need to like figure out my folk and trad stuff. I feel like if anybody who really knows their stuff about that is listening, they're just like, oh my God, he has no idea
What
what
are
he's
they
talking
talking
about.
about?
Yeah, that's why I talk to Ruth every year now, because she just
Yeah, yeah.
educates me. I look forward
She's like, there's
already.
drones in this, there's pipes, there's two different variations of flute.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, the drone on this record
Mm,
from the very first track is so great too. Just an absolutely superb album from Poor Creature that's released on Riverly. As I say, we're talking about all albums this month. One that I've really been looking forward to is the second posthumous release by Talos. It's a collaboration with Olafur Arnalds and it's called A Dawning. It came out on Olafur Arnalds' label Opia last Friday, the same day as Poor Creature and the other album that we're going to be talking about a little bit later on. Talos is Owen French, a Cork artist. He sadly passed away far too young last August. I wrote about him in the Irish Examiner. I was a huge fan of Talos, of Owen French's music, going back to his first band, Hush Warcry, and I loved seeing the journey that Talos went on artistically, starting out very much kind of after Hush Warcry, back around 2013, playing with just one or two musicians and trying to figure out what exactly Talos was going to be. And I always remember seeing them play in the Barras. It was on a tour. It was kind of Icelandic and Irish artists back in I've put myself on the spot here, 2017, I think. And it was just a full band performance. It was 5 or 6 musicians on stage, and I was like almost literally blown away by the sound that was coming from the tiny stage, one of my favorite stages in Ireland, in the Barras. And from there, they released their debut album, Wild Ali. They released another 2 albums in the next couple of years. And then sadly, Owen passes away last August after illness that he got while in Iceland the previous November. So that's kind of a bit of a background to this album. The first posthumous release, in case people might have missed it, was the Sun Divider EP, which was made with the Icelandic musician Atli Orvarsson. That came out last December. What about this album, Ciara? What do you think of it? Because I'm obviously go back a long way with Talos. I don't know how far back you go with Talos.
My knowledge wouldn't be as deep as yours. I kind of really came to his music, unfortunately, after his passing. I wasn't massively familiar before that, but this album is obviously it's a posthumous creation, and the combination of Owen French and Olafur Arnalds, I think, just makes like something really special. There's something incredible, like so obviously Arnold's is a producer and he's created soundtracks for ITV's Broadchurch, and there's something that sounds incredibly cinematic about it, while also I don't know, like his vocals, French's vocals are very distinct. And taking music, I think, I don't know, there's obviously it's something that he had started working on before his passing, and being able to take music and create something from the death of somebody, from, something from their soul, I just think is a beautiful way to remember them, and a way to process that grief as well, and to put it back out into the world in a package of something that other people can connect with.
I mean, a lot of people would have gotten the first taster of this record with the final track, We Didn't Know We Were Ready, which was performed on the Tommy Tiernan show by a load of pals right at the start of the year. I very much remember seeing it for the first time on my Instagram feed, being like, what is this? I didn't like, there was no warning that this was happening or anything, and then suddenly it showed up, and literally everybody that I've talked with who saw that were in floods of tears watching it. It's a track that goes back to Sounds from a Safe Harbour 2023, which is a festival, biennial, I think is the right term, every second year. Takes place in Cork, the brainchild of Mary Hickson and a couple of her very good, very famous pals. They do a residency in the week before the events kick off, and so she knew that Olafur and Owen would get on really, really well, and so she ushers them into a room together, closes the door, and they get to work. They say that they wrote the second track, Signs, in a couple of hours. They wrote another couple of tracks in the next few days, including We Didn't Know We Were Ready. And so We Didn't Know We Were Ready is a song which kind of almost like, do you remember the David Bowie album Black Star that was released in 2016? His last album, it was released like on the Friday, and by the Monday he had passed away, if I remember correctly. It was something like that. And that album just took on a whole new meaning for people. And that's what I think about with We Didn't Know We Were Ready, because they wrote that as kind of this idea of being on the stage and not sure whether, you can listen to the lyrics and you can imagine what that's like. We don't know if this thing is going to be ready for audiences. And then after his death, there was a clip of this song, the performance from Riverlea Hotel at Soundsmith Safe Harbour, that was up on Talas's Instagram page, which again kind of offered a little bit of comfort to people, because very much it seems almost apt, or it seems like almost knowing what was ahead for Talos. And I guess that's the question that I have. I mean, for someone who maybe isn't wouldn't have known Talos going back the years like I might have, Ciara, are you able to kind of separate can you just see the album on its own terms rather than kind of the backstory behind it? How does it stand up for you in that respect?
Kind of, but I think maybe having that knowledge feeds into it. And I kind of maybe went into it knowing and with that in mind and kind of listening to it through that lens. I don't know if it makes it any more intense and a listening experience. It's an album that flows beautifully from start to finish with like gorgeous musical melodies throughout it. But I think there maybe is a touch of that kind of, I don't really know what the right word is. Maybe like intensity, or yeah, just a bit of that kind of finality or something to it.
Yeah, it's so sad to think about, and there's so many sad things that you can pick out about this album. The second last track is called For Steph. So Steph was Owen's partner, and Olafur, I saw that they did a listening party in Tower Records last Sun or 2 Sundays ago, the Sunday before this album came out, and so he was talking with Loa afterwards in a little Q&A, and he said that this track he didn't touch. He had found it in Owen's archives. Owen had gifted it, I guess, gifted all of his music to Oliver and said, do what you want with all of this. And so he found this track, and he says he didn't touch it. So the piano that you hear being played on For Steph is all Owen, which again, it's just so sad. It's just so sad to think that this musician who's overflowing with ideas, that it's kind of over. But I guess that's what's great about the album, is that it's a celebration. And that's one of the things that Olafur and all of the people who are involved in this record and getting it out into the world, like Owen said that he wanted it to be a celebration. He didn't want people to be sad when he's listening to his music. And I don't know if you do feel sad, maybe, like it is a real celebration. It's a really lovely album. Yeah, I talked with Oliver about the record. That's in an interview that's coming up hopefully soon in the Irish Examiner. And he just said the working with Owen was a dream. Like, I'll just read a little bit of a quote that I'm not using in the piece. He says that Owen was so fun. Of other people, he was almost non-critical to a fault. Of himself, he was critical to a fault. But that's the magic of collaboration, because we all tend to be very critical of ourselves. We all tend to barter ourselves a little bit with our creations. But being in a room with someone like him, you get rid of all that. Instead of being in the loop with your own thoughts, destructive thoughts, you're in a loop with someone who is just always positive and encouraging. And when you have that, ideas sometimes just blow out of you like a waterfall, because you just feel safe and you feel like it doesn't actually matter if it's a good idea or a bad idea. It's just an idea, and that's all that matters. And Oliver also says that, like, this is also a celebration of community, because it takes a big community to bring an album together. And Sounds from Safe Harbour is a very tight-knit community of friends, of people in the industry, of musicians. And Owen French worked behind the scenes as well as performing on stage there. And so, again, it's just great to have this album out in the world. I absolutely love it. Olafur Arnalds and Talos, a dawning. There's one more posthumous release promised for Talos. I look forward to hearing more about what that is and when that is coming out. Now, our final album, Ciara, is Wet Legs Moisturizer. Their second album will go international. We'll leave Ireland behind as we head to the Isle of Wight, to London, to, well, they want to take over the world now, do they, Wet Leg?
I think so. So, the two, and I am going to forget her first name, but Teasdale and Hester Chambers, they're co-writers. They met when they were studying music as teenagers on the Isle of Wight. I know one lives in London and one lives in the Isle of Wight, or a couple of the band members actually live in the Isle of Wight. So I don't know how they make that work, but I think they went on a retreat into the Isle of Wight to do kind of like a writing session for this album. It's their sophomore album. It was also released on Friday, the 11th of July. And when I heard Catch These Fists, like the first song that was released, the first single that was released from this current album, I loved it and I thought I thought we were in for a treat. But I was a little bit disappointed by the whole album. I think it falls a little bit flat. There are some standout songs. CPR, I love. Catch These Fists, I love. Davina McCall is interesting. And then the kind of like the whole album is about love, and you can hear that theme throughout. And Pawn Song and You and Me at Home are kind of cute songs. They're nice songs, but um, for me, it doesn't sound as original as I hoped it would. I think they take a lot of, and I know like no art is original or whatever, but I think they take a lot of like heavy, heavy inspiration from other songs to the point that it kind of just sounds like a mix match of things that already exist. You know, when you listen to a song and you're like, oh, this sounds like another song. Most of their songs are like that, unfortunately.
Were you a big fan of the first album? I mean, how can anybody resist that first single, Chaise Long, which came out? And I thought it was the song of summer 2021 anyway.
Mm. Yeah, no, I was a huge fan, and I kind of came back to that album before this album came out as well. I think that's so fun, and there's such interest. I haven't seen them perform live, but I'm very much excited to at some stage. I think they might be doing all together now. Yeah, very much looking forward to seeing them live because I think maybe live they could be a very fun onstage presence. And, you know, they might be somebody that you see at mm, 11 o'clock at a festival.
Yeah, so Rian is the name of the main singer, Rian Teasdale, and she's very much front and center of this album because Hester Chambers says that she suffers from anxiety, and she's told Alexis Petridis in The Guardian, these past years have been a crash course in learning about myself, and one of those lessons is that my social anxiety won't be therapied away. So she isn't completely taking a back seat from this. She sings on the track Don't Speak. She writes half of the songs as well. And Don't Speak, she sings and it gives it almost a shoegazy kind of a sound. So I do like that there is that little bit of a change up in their sound going on. I'm actually surprised that I like this album as much as I do, Ciara, because
Tell me about it. What do you think?
well, I completely agree with what you're saying that they're not ripping up the rule book, that this sounds like a couple of other bands. I can't get the Strokes out of my head when I hear the likes of Liquid Eyes, might be a little bit of Davina McCall as well, but I still really, really like them. And by the end of the album, You and Me at Home just sounds so triumphant. And like you say, it sounds like it is made to be played live and it's meant to be played at a festival. I think that they did have that in mind, that this was an album written with live shows in mind. It's produced by Dan Carey, who also worked with the likes of Fontaine's DC. I wonder, is that what kind of, I mean, would you say that kind of the edges have been smoothed out a little bit, that there's nothing quite as odd? Like there's nothing
Maybe,
like
yeah.
Chaise Long on this album, is there?
No, I don't think so. And their lyrics, I probably need to give it like a couple more listens and like a listen on a speaker and a listen in the car, um, instead of just out for a walk or whatever. But their lyrics are just so funny in their first album. Like they just catch you with like I don't know, just little quiffs, and you're like, that's hilarious actually. And I don't think they quite have that great in this album, but again, maybe a couple more listens and I maybe need to give it some more time. And they might actually have those kind of hidden away in there because I think they're very clever writers. But again, I do think it's probably an album to be performed live.
It's kind of hard to like say how big Wet Leg got so quickly, isn't it? Because they
Mm.
released that first song in summer 2021. Their debut self-titled album came out in April 2022. They supported Harry Styles, won a couple of Grammys in 2023. They won a couple of Brit Awards as well. And then they played Glastonbury, got a huge crowd, so much so that I think that they had to stop people going to the stage for them. They were supporting Foo Fighters on a stadium tour last summer, pre those Dave Grohl revelations as well. So they've kind of got the chops to make it really, really big. And there is a lot of weirdness to be found on this album as well. Let's just look at some of the all lowercase song titles, which gives you a sense that I think this is very much a band for, please excuse me for using this term, millennials. Don't
Mhm.
millennials love
The
all lowercase,
lowercase,
Ciara? Yeah.
they do.
Um,
I'm on the cusp. I'm on the cusp.
like you say, Davina McCall is one track title, Monge 2, Pokemon. Probably the worst song on the record, I think, is Pillow Talk. But again, coming back to You and Me at Home, they kind of address just how big they've gotten. I'll just give you a taste of some of the lyrics. They say, maybe we could start a band as some kind of joke. Well, that didn't quite go to plan. I say on the radio, now we've been stretched across the world, over land and sea, and there's this big elastic band that pulls you back to me. So that gives a hint of just how big Wet Leg have gotten in the past couple of years, and also that this is very much a love album, as Rian Teasdale says on that very first track. She says, "The thing is, I'm in love with." I think it's a non-binary partner that she's found love in, which was kind of a revelation for her, both musically and personally. I'm guessing. So it's. I'm really surprised at this, Ciara. I prefer. I
You
think this is
you
a
prefer
great
the
album.
album to
I
me?
think it's a great album. Yeah, yeah. But you haven't
Okay, I
given it a
need to
listen in
listen
the
more.
car,
I
is
need
it?
to listen more. That's honestly, that's the thing. That's where I form my my strongest opinions. No, I think it is a grower. Like with some of the Fontaine stuff, I wasn't sure at the start either, and then the more I listened, the more I got into it, and it grew on me until I loved it. So
Well, we talked at the start, Ciara. I'm looking forward to seeing where your background takes us next. Where Ciara will be sitting the next time. Maybe we need to do a whole episode of you like just driving around listening to the music, a
do
la that
that.
carpool karaoke thing, except it's music reviews.
Yeah, and I'll maybe be parked so I don't trust myself to talk and listen
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
drive at the same time.
So those are three albums that came out this past week, which are going to be some of the albums I think that we're going to be talking about later in the year. As always, we have a couple of tracks to recommend. Ciara, do you want to go first?
So my track of the week, it's by a new artist called Aliska Lane, and the song is called Home Again. So Aliska is a Wexford-born, Dublin-based singer-songwriter, and she blends indie folk with introspective storytelling. Her debut single, so it draws on themes of nostalgia, sisterhood, and a bittersweet return to your childhood home. Her influences include Big Thief, Johnny Flynn, and Hayley Hendrix, and her music combines warm lyricism with raw folk rock textures. And she's going to be playing her debut show in Little Whelan's on July 30th to celebrate the launch.
Wow, great. Did you say it's her debut single?
Debut single, yeah. It's
Ooh,
gorgeous. It's really lovely listening.
that sounds great. Wexford. That's some good stuff happening there. There's an artist I
Mm,
really like called Stella and the Dreaming, who I think is from Wexford
yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so my track recommendation this week is Hamer Place. All that I knew was blue. Hamer Place is led by Ross Hamer, who says, I wanted to write a belter of a song like All Kinds of Girls by the Real Kids. So I stole the intro from that, and then instead of writing about all kinds of girls, I wrote about childhood innocence and sectarian ignorance. This track is all about football and growing up in Glasgow. And Ross talks about going to a Rangers game, which leaves a lasting impression. The lyrics cite Ali McCoist scoring a goal and kissing the Rangers crest, and Tina Turner's Simply the Best playing on the tannoy speakers. Of course, Rangers play in blue, not green and white like Celtic. So he's wrestling with all of this, and then he moves to County Meath from Scotland. And one of the lyrics in the song is, first thing that the boys asked me was, what's your football team? Teacher put a P next to my name in the register. So people will know exactly what he's talking about if they know about the whole Rangers, Celtic, Catholics, Protestants divide that drives that rivalry in football. So this track, in keeping with all of the stuff that I've heard from Hamer Place before, he was on A Litany of Failures, one of their records a couple of years ago, with a great 2-minute song. He's so funny. The lyrics just really, really catch you out, and just a great guitar act as well. Features members from O'Boland and Search Results, and this track features on the debut Hamer Place album, which is out on September 1st, and it's all produced by Daniel Fox as well, one of my favourite producers in the country. So it sounds like two slightly different tracks that we've chosen this week. Ciara, what are you up to until we talk again? I think we're going to talk just before the month is out.
I've nothing mad coming up except I might make it to Whelan's 1 or 2 days this week. So they are running Whelan's Summer Watch 2025 on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You can get tickets on the Whelan's website. It's kind of like a summer version of their Whelan's Ones to Watch, which runs at the start of the year. So on Thursday, they have Delivery Service, Last Apollo, Telebox, Laura Duff, Thanks Mom, who I saw, I think, at Ones to Watch earlier in the year. And then on Friday, they have Max Steady, Sarah Brookie, Dig Deep, Wife Swap, Cable Boy, who are amazing, highly recommend, Soft Drink Millionaire. And on Saturday, they have Pebble Dash, big fans on the pod, Pebble Dash, Dream Boy, Sell Everything, and loads more. So it's a brilliant lineup if anybody's looking for some good Irish music over the weekend.
So you're going to a couple of days of that, is it?
Maybe we will see. We'll see how the energy levels are.
I'm going to be in Bantry in West Cork on Thursday evening. I'm hosting an interview with the authors of a new book about Sinead O'Connor. It's called What Sinead O'Connor Means to Us. The main title of the book is Nothing Compares to You. So I'm talking to the co-editor of that and two of the writers who feature in it. It's this great anthology of writing that's come out. It's mainly American focused, and it is by people who are just talking about the effect that Sinead O'Connor has had on them through her various songs over the years. So it's kind of it's really, really deep, really personal, really revealing about so many facets of life. An absolutely amazing book, an amazing collection. So I'm looking forward to chatting about that. It's as part of the West Cork Literary Festival, in case I didn't already mention that. So it sounds like we've got some busy days ahead, Ciara.
Culturally filled.
Culturally filled, exactly.
So
I look forward to chatting with you again in a couple of weeks. Maybe it will be
me too.
an All Together Now preview.
I think it might just be.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Anyway, thanks a lot, Ciara.
Thank
Yeah, chat
you.
to you next time.
Chat to you then. Thanks, Emil.